This is my metal lathe, and whenever I try to film the making of a project on this lathe, I always end up getting this tripod terribly in my way. So today I'm going to try to fix that with some kind of a parallelogram arm camera mount thingy coming off the wall. I'm thinking of making something kind of like this goofy little lamp, only of course like 30 times stronger. About 32 inches. Alright, I finalized the design. The 4 links of the 2 parallelograms are all the same length, so I can make them all at once. So the reason I made these the way I did is because these holes will now be perfectly straight across and also evenly spaced across all the different links. So basically this is just half of a hole for the bolt, and now I need to make a cap that goes on this side. Next up, I'll make this part that mounts to the wall. This also serves as the hinge, like that. Now that these things are glued up, I'm thinking these joints look a little weak, so I'm going to true up this face on the table saw and then add a piece of plywood. That'll give that some extra glue surface area. The arm mounts onto this side with a couple of cross bolts, so I need to glue on some side plates here with holes for those bolts, and those side plates are going to extend all the way down to here to reinforce this bottom joint. There's the side plate. I just transferred that onto this piece. While the glue dries here, I'm going to work on this part that connects the 2 parallelograms. To make sure the parallelogram works properly, I'm going to stick bolts in these holes. That way I make sure all of these holes in both pieces will be properly aligned. Right now it's just a bunch of scattered parts. I want to see how it comes together. So part of the concept behind this design is to have multiple of these mounted all over the shop, and then I can take my arm, I can drop it into any one of those, then I don't have to carry my heavy tripod around. So now I just need to add some springs across these parallelograms, and I need to add some locking knobs to these 2 bolts, and of course I need to make this end. This thing can go this way or this way to change the orientation of the camera. I'm pretty pleased with that. Now I just need to make the camera mount that goes right here. This is 2 pieces of 3/4 inch plywood glued together, and that goes in here. But first I need to drill some holes in here. I'm gluing this up with it still on the extension arm so that these holes will for sure be lined up. So this is going to be a ball head camera mount, and for the ball, I went to the hardware store and found this thing. This is like for the end of a drill press handle. It's a nice smooth plastic sphere and it has a brass insert. So that's going to go right there. Now I just need to make something to go around this side to clamp that in. So now I'm going to route a chamfer into both sides of this. So I'll just raise the bit a little, cut both sides, raise it a little more, cut both sides until the 2 chamfers almost meet. So I routed that as far as I could before the bearing on the bit started riding up on the opposite chamfer. Now I just need to cut it out around that outside line. You can probably guess why I left that on the whole piece while I did the chamfer. I'm using carriage bolts for this, partly because they don't turn in the hole, but mostly because the head is lower profile, so it won't get in the way. The one that's back in here where it's hard to get to gets a lock nut. And the other one that's easy to reach will get a wing nut. And the wing nut will be what locks the camera in position. So here's the little piece I just turned. This is an adapter to go from the ball into the bottom of the camera. Okay, I'll stick the camera on here and see how it goes. Seems good. I have 45 degrees of freedom of angle in any direction, but sometimes I want to shoot straight down. In those cases, I simply have to pull this pin, rotate this down, and replace the pin. In this orientation, I can also go into portrait if I want to. Also, now that I have the weight of the camera on there, I'm starting to realize I don't need the springs on the linkage. These are all lock nuts, and I've got them tightened up pretty good, and that's plenty of stiffness to hold it up. Unfortunately, I really can't call this a complete success because this is as far back as I can go with the linkage, and the camera is still just way too close to the chuck. Any little hot chips off of there are going to land on the camera and melt the plastic and things, so I need to rebuild part of this linkage to make it get closer to the wall. I'm just editing this and I realize there's a much easier solution. That was easy. So now I can call it a complete success. Thanks for watching.